All right, we are live.
All right, guys, people, let's convene our meeting of the Capital Development Finance Committee and Investment Committee. We have a quorum present. And we are minus one member, Richard says, we still have a quorum. As you can see, we have the agenda that's been posted that we will follow. And the first order of business is to review the minutes from August 19th. Any motion, please? Motion second. Any further questions or comments relative to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next, one of the primary purposes of the meeting is the review. And is this a recommendation to the board, the Capital Committee?
Not yet,
Right,
right?
well, we have one more month.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to approve it next month to get it in Paris by the end of October. But ultimately, this committee would recommend to the
But
board.
not at this meeting.
We don't need
This is,
it.
this
To me,
is,
if you're gonna have it.
okay, so this is a discussion of the proposed annual budget in preliminary form. There's been a memo and the attached schedules.
So memo starts page 4 of 13. And then that budget starts on page 6 after
Right.
the orange divider.
And so we'll ask Ashley to walk us through this, but for Andy or there's, you know, not Andy C. Not Andy C. Totally different. But it's a little bit of budget chaos. It's really hard because you're dealing with really one significant initiatives with big budgetary impacts with uncertain timelines. That have kind of cliff funding events and things such as that. So very hard to budget. But what we've always done with our budgets, and this doesn't make it right, but what we should do this time is we yearly budget for what we thought was the known universe. And we did not try to anticipate or project unknown events. And you can see that, I think that's the spirit in which this budget was presented. And we could determine whether we could properly capture the projected activities for next year, the fiscal year activities. All right, so how do you want to walk through this?
So I'd like Andy B to help walk us through it with Tom.
So management is happy to present the projected budget for Capital Development Corporation. Constructed in conjunction with our colleagues at BST, so we're very thankful for your support. Separate reference. This attempts to encapsulate all known events as of April 13th, and it's a best estimate at our expectation. Detailed budget is attached to the materials, but I will step through the summary document. Please stop me anytime with questions, concerns. I will flag that there are 2 typos in our favor. So there's going to be a nominal adjustment that results in the memo tying out superseding the schedule by about $762. So moving forward, we expect our net loss before depreciation expense and activity to be approximately $186,000. But overall, the budget is expected to a surplus of a little over $678,000. That's primarily due to the timing and amount of certain grant revenues.
What line item here?
So we are in, this is
Total
total revenue, so we're stepping down into the total.
You're looking at the budget.
But if you're looking at the very net income and loss, after depreciation and program activity, the very bottom line, 2025 budget, is about 678,562.
Can I ask you a very basic question? Sure. So this is a year-end budget. First column is a year-end budget 2024, and the next column is a year-end projection for the year we're finish out.
So we do have back pocket schedules if anyone wanted to see how those things we compare on a percentage basis. 24 projected to 2,500. So we did prepare those separately, if that did something we wanted to peel the onion on that and step into exactly what those calculations. So again, this budget is presented for the unknowns relating to the new part, collective, the projected operating revenues and expenses, based on how we currently understand.
Did you anticipate any, how did you deal with interest rates on this period of budget?
So we did step them back. For Tom had some calculation based on that. I didn't do the grade point investment income analysis, so we get that from Bob and we show the respective investment portfolios. The interest rates themselves, we actually just had a meeting with our colleagues at Community Bank, and we're exploring some additional account options that would provide us, even in the event of the LMC determination this week, with an interest rate projected to be above 4%. But this investment in interest income is primarily based on the grade level.
4%.
4%.
What,
But it's interval. So we're, so
is it a term to that, or is it money market?
it's open-ended. So basically what we'll be doing is, again, we're still tying out the regulatory compliance for subcontracts. But basically what we'll be doing is taking the static balances that are in the savings account that aren't being used for operations. And I think we're looking at 90 days at a time for operating surplus. So what they do is they farm that out to partner banks, staying under the $250,000
I know the product,
Okay.
but I'm just curious on what kind of duration you would take. So is it a CDARS product or a CD?
So we were offered a CDARS option. So they're taking, we just met with them on Friday, so they're gonna get some rates back to us in terms, so it's, but between Interfi and CDARS, they expressed confidence that they maintain a short-term interest rate of 4%.
For how much?
4%. Grade point forward is 4.97, we have a signed order
How long?
on 90 days.
You just gotta look at it, I just from a budgeting perspective, I mean, look at the dot plot, whatever you wanna look at and say, okay, if the Fed's projecting 6 interest rate moves through the year, right, that's roughly gonna affect our ability to reinvest that money and get that return. So that's 150 basis points less than ever, then you gotta average it over time. I would just be thinking about that. It's a pretty dynamic rate environment. It's gonna impact us from a cash heavy position. So there's gonna be a lot of impact on our revenue.
We did ask Great Point to compile kind of investment economic outlook for the remainder of the year. We should expect that
Remainder of this year.
remainder of this year. So we expect to have that available before the meeting. It's not done yet. It's not something they do regularly for all clients, but they do carve it out for us.
When did it come?
April. They have expressed interest in coming more frequently if we want. Maybe it's an opportunity to have them back in potential for other use.
Do we have any, how much of our cash is managed that way? The highest watermark, you know, how much do we have at 5%?
That would be really important for the balance sheet.
Is it in composite accounts?
The operating cash.
And what's that, what interest rate is that?
3.65 is the highest.
3.65.
So we just moved money over from Broadview, and as the investment guy, I feel happy for not having led with this, but actually mentioned potentially repositioning the funds over the very well. So it's about 140%, 140 basis points.
Those guys are going to look themselves.
It's free money, we really we're not getting it. It's a great bank. This meeting is being recorded. It's a great bank. Broadview's
Right, it's not a benefit, wonderful.
It's a credit union.
It's a great financial institution
Yeah. Okay.
with a subpar.
No, it's gonna go people. So, really, it's hard to project the future. It's a dynamic environment. Whatever the bias is, it's coming down. It's gonna affect all our possibilities. There's so much cash in the project. And I don't know enough about how it's managed, but we just have to make sure the budget reflects an estimate. It's very hard to know since it's the Fed giving move 6 times, 8 times, this and that. Roughly, there's gonna be some relationship to the Fed movement, what's gonna happen to our interest rates we receive. And so we should just get a theory about that and correlate it.
Sure.
I would probably go off the dot plots because Otherwise, everything else is just a projected guess. If they're saying that this is where we think it's gonna be, then that's where they think it's gonna be. And then there's probably gonna be some data on the percentage of it, you know, if they move 25 basis points, we'll let them move. Whatever it is, right, there's gonna be some correlation of those events, but you gotta kind of figure it out. And I just don't wanna overstate our income. You know, because this is all budget.
Sure. I will say that, 277,000 of investment interest accounts is very calculated, so we do take pains to differ than what before, we actually put this together, so this is a.
Whatever you get with them, you can correlate that to everything else. So I don't know where money is, Citizens Bank, but wherever it is, they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna sit there and say, oh my God. You know, 50 basis points just moved, they're gonna be more deposit accounts. Maybe.
Potentially. Again, we did meet with them on Friday. They did express that our rates weren't where they should have been all along. Community. They advised that we could have been we could be in a better crack than what probably. They were expressing an interest in accommodating that request. So we are trying to manage our cash a little bit. The interest rate reflected in this projection. We will be monitoring the cash accounts.
It's our most significant asset, right? So you gotta, yes, you should be all over.
To the extent that liquidity in our limits allow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maintain that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you gotta manage return and duration. So. And put it up there.
Okay, so the revenue from non-program activities is approximately 9.75 million. So we're on the top blue slide, I think following along with the tab. So that's, there's. Really no, the biggest difference is that, well, not the biggest difference, materiality wise, but percentage wise, one of the bigger differences is the lending income. Previously, we had budgeted for fees and application charges. We don't maintain an active lending portfolio anymore. So one of the comments below is that it's about $5,000 less than the budget, not material to the overall operation, but more illustrative of the fact that we don't maintain that process anymore. And that's an undershoot reflective of our current operations.
What line is that?
So it's the fourth one down, lending income, real estate income also, changed from 24. The reason it was as high as it was, is we had some transactions, we monetized some real estate holdings. That's obviously an anomalous event that we expect to occur. Moving down to the non-program expense assumptions, expenses are approximately 1.94 million. Increases across the board, professional fees, administration, occupancy. Fees for the professional, legal, accounting, IT, are all incrementally increasing. We expect those to be higher than we before. Administrative expenses, really, it's primarily driven by the increase in insurance costs. Our portfolio expense for insurance has increased about 20% year, and there's no, from our broker, there's no sense that would be back. You have risk aggregate with, sorry, John, you have something?
Yeah, I'm not looking for you guys to create a whole new level of work for yourselves, but it would be great to see what portion of all these expenses are related to Liberty Park. So yeah, if we're looking at $50,000 increase in insurance costs, like, is that because of Liberty Park? Is it because of something else?
It's honestly for the insurance specific example, it's a mixed bag between, so the Liberty Park portfolio is challenging to insure, as we know why. And then Pit and Market, with that being its unique structure itself, that one.
Even that too, because I think as we start to look at, you know, if we want to offload Clinton Market because it's a loss leader, you know, what do we need to get in return for that?
So the discussions with the broker have realized the fact that we're starting to aggregate risk to a point at which it's going to all too much. We have the flip market, which is considered for all intents and purposes a park. And then we also have the general land property, which through lease agreement, we're obligated to provide liability insurance for the duration of respective. And so between that and Liberty Park properties, risk is aggregate. So yes, I agree that there's a way to offload that. That's something to explore.
What does the city do to ensure its similar properties?
As far as Jenny's Landing or which,
Any Washington Park? I mean, or does the city self-insure?
they may self-insure. We did have a discussion with court counsel about that to see exactly what their obligation was for specific Jenny's Landing and what our reciprocal obligation. She didn't confirm current practice, but she did confirm that they expect us to keep paying. If it's a self-insurance model or reinsurance model, I'm not sure what that is. But as a corporation, our risk is being to. We're doing our best to manage that, but the buildings and the condition, Liberty Park especially, and collective risk between our two public areas. It's something that we have to monitor very closely.
Insurance land, does the port contribute on that?
That's the operating expenses. So Tom, you can.
Yeah, I don't think they do, we don't bill them for any insurance or anything other than what they, what they pay for the lease.
Are we at the end of, near the end of that lease?
We are coming up as a consumer 3 years.
I think so. How much about it?
What happens?
Well, the payments go away. So traditionally, they have
Yes.
covered our payment that we make for the bonds.
So are you talking about the port bonds themselves?
Yeah.
Those are retired.
Yes,
They are.
But the lease,
I thought the
So the lease, I think the lease still goes on.
Operating lease,
But the
I think
question
it was
is,
27.
is it a triple net? And I guess what I'm hearing is it's not a stack. It's just a bond payment, which is no longer existing.
So we retired the bonds early. They were responsible for supporting these payments associated with this, but because they prepaid those, the bond payment obligations and our insurance obligation no longer match up.
Yeah.
I believe it's 27 that they are.
is there any reason to just terminate the lease at this point then?
Yeah, it's a good thought.
Are we getting surplus?
I mean, there's no,
No,
I
we're not
don't think
getting in it.
there's a benefit to us continuing to hold it. I mean.
We were only in there to facilitate those, the bond transactions.
Yeah, even then, right. Whether we needed to be, but yeah, we were, and we served our purpose, so that may be a good point. We should look at that and see if it's time.
What the process would be,
Yeah,
it's a unilateral option.
So who would the assets go to?
sorry.
Who would the asset go to? Or the assets at the port?
Well, they lease it from us, so I
They
think,
lease it.
and we lease it, if I understand it, we lease it from the city, who then leases it to the port. And we got in, as John said, we were one of the parties in that chain
Right.
to facilitate that transaction. I'm not sure it's needed now. We can look and let's see what the lease says. As you said, is it something that we could just on our own discretion make the decision, or do we need something to happen? We'll look. It's a good thought.
Non-program expense, the final comment I'll make is, the occupancy. I think management's determined that the costs associated with repurposing, the HVAC, to a better state is not, juice is not worth the little squeeze. We received several quotes, from people that did, quote it, anywhere from 112,000 to 250,000. Rooms. Some are functional, some are not. No risk to the building, but they are 32 to 43 years old, according to common mechanical. And costs associated with the purposing, not just the units, but the lines that are obviously in the individual rooms, prohibitive.
How expensive is our utility bill? Is there an opportunity there to maybe go ask NYSERDA for some money and do some energy efficiency type? Or not NYSERDA, go to a vendor who will replace our HVAC in return for we'll just pay them
there were rebates associated with installation, it would materially impact the result of our, I mean, the front loaded cost would have. Rebates were, I think, 10%, potentially, something like that. Depending on the extent of the investment. Some of the work would be eligible, some would, the units up top would be with a lot of sets to do. So there's a lot of labor involved, it's an old building, everything, you know, is individually geared to the offices. So the monthly utility bills, are thousand,
How much you said?
at least 1,000,
Yeah, I think so,
mission
maybe.
to, and the summer. They're not efficient.
It's a stack
You get 12,
utility bills.
12 to 15.
Because they're all based off of all the different unit counts from like the prior apartment structure, we've just opted not to like aggregate that in the past based on, you know, the building plan changes,
It would actually
leaving
be,
it separate.
yeah, not, sorry. So we did explore consolidating to a single. There was concern that if you start pulling apart the line sets, uncommon things. Maybe not cost effective to repair, but it would substantially increase the cost to the point which you're approaching about is that, which we understand we call about 1,000 costs.
This doesn't sound right.
We have two written quotes, well, sorry, one written quote, one verbal quote. The value of the building was at the upper bound 500,000, the HVAC quote was 250. So it's a material investment in the existing structure where, again, not knowing the certainty of, you know, where 5 years from now, if we're still gonna be here, that I think that's a great investment. But Colony Mechanical couldn't even do it until February. So Colony Mechanical, Chris Foley, Family Dan's, and two others. Family Dan's actually, one of the vendors decided to leave in the middle of the quote. After the finish of the job. So this is something that we've been aware of. We've taken pains to procure multiple estimates. The nature and the extent of the work, really competes a lot of companies. So it would be anywhere from 25 to 50% of the daily value just in demolition price. That's the don't find. So that was the work. So management is proposing to go forward with the freestanding units.
What?
So window units on the back, so we don't unduly impact the historic nature of the building, and then freestanding units for the front of these that will all have function. So we expect that to be about $5,000.
Oh,
Depending on, I mean, again, the procurement probably wouldn't have it all, right? But yes, it's totally, we expect, because not everything, it's fine here.
We don't need units in every space, but his in particular and some of the other individual offices and then this conference room over here. Basically, it seems like this side of the building mostly works and then that side of the building mostly doesn't.
So the roof is quadrants, some are fully functional, some are completely offline. So we'd be backfilling on a necessary basis. So again, we expect, depending on the size, soft, $100,000. So that's a reasonable compromise given the state of the building and the nature of the operation. Spare most expenses. Going to program and expense assumptions. So
do you have anyone on the board with a lot of expertise? Well, you just remember that stuff. Yeah. So we have to move that into a city, it just seems.
That means we already did, they did provide.
Sounds like you talked to the right people. But those are good people, and I get it. Must be right. Seems crazy.
I immediately lack no time to have substantial discussions with these people. So I think we're just trying to get a critical mass of opinions necessary to see if it needs it, but they're all coming back with the same responses.
Those are really reputable people.
That was a. Moving on to program income, I think this is where the good news happens for the most part. We were able, in conjunction with UHY, to agree We had $1 million in ESD national Grid grants that were originally based on the timing of the project as it was originally understood to hit in 24. Those numbers are not going to come to us until 2025. So that is primarily the reason we want to surplus this year. We got $1 million in grant funding, would have otherwise hit this year. We're able to shot to next year. We have an audit opinion that that's an appropriate transaction. Budgeting $12,000 for market collective revenue. Yeah, as we expected now, we are being responsive that we would do this Friday. So we don't have an operator, if not individual vendors for that stage. The DJ that we had has expressed interest in gathering a large event, having a kind of an ongoing schedule. I am personally with one interested party, and I know you're waiting response from the operations. So again, if we can staff this in a manner that we expect, revenue about $12,000 back in last month, with hopefully potential for the past.
Any overhead?
There are, I think it's about $40,000. Expenses, we did get the MOU back from EPA today. So Ashley negotiated, we were able to take it from, they gave us kind of tiers of service levels, anywhere from 30,000 to 90,000. We actually settled for 26,000. And that still gives us 7-day-a-week coverage, once a day, trash removal, seasonal umbrella and table maintenance, and snow removal.
Sounds pretty good.
We're very happy with it.
Yeah, that sounds good. What did we get? Since we got everything.
They wanted twice a day with a larger crew. So they were gonna send 2 people over twice a day. We scaled it back to 1 person once a day. But given the honor, we don't even have to take this to most people yet, which I think we're gonna try and even Ashley's trying to do some horse trading on that. So we get some additional work done on the site, seeing that they can't do something that we can't permit them to do yet. So we're gonna leverage APA as resources to maintain the site. In the interim, we're having overwatch management, do trash removal, kind of watering, keeping up with landscaping, watching the site. It's been great so far. I think it's well received. Just as an operational update, we spent about 45 minutes climbing around in the cabinet with Malloy last week. We got the projects back up. There's a software patch, SD card, we worked with the vendor to get these things up and running. So we've been testing them on random days and hours, and there's been no interruptions yet. They were up for the event on Saturday, they were up and running. So it's nice to see the space come online.
Yeah.
What was happening was they were randomly, like, they're on a time schedule and you're supposed to press the button and turn them on. And then based on the software glitch, you would press the button and it would beep and light up and nothing would happen. And it wouldn't throw any error codes. It wouldn't tell you what was going on. Reached out through the vendor and found out that there was a patch that needed to happen. And we orchestrated that with the team and seems to be working, which is much to my relief.
Yeah, no, since the patch, 6 out of 6 times we tried. It's come out every time, so it's good stuff. We were down just again operational, this is finance, but just some financial impact here, nominal. We were down on the site today, we're in the last stages of winterizing the containers. So there are some openings that were resulting from the installation and things that were done on the vendor side that we would have expected to have used this year that we're not going to activate the container side. So we just need a button. So there'll be some holes that are covered, additions that are made. They'll be under the $5,000. So we expect to have the vendor containers online for next year. To that end, we're expecting about $40,000 in operating expenses for the market and Liberty Park about 110. That's almost 60% insurance, lot maintenance, some building stabilization.
Is that enough?
110. I mean, I guess most of it's, half of it's
I
insurance.
think insurance is mostly.
So the insurance is locked into this time next year, absent a material adjustment in our rates, which we haven't revised to expect. At least 50% of this is locked in. So we're comfortable that if we can maintain the buildings in their current state until the ends result of the project that we're taking, this is a reasonable approximation.
Yeah, the other big expense there is plowing.
Is what?
Plowing,
Snow
snow
plowing.
plowing, the sidewalks, parking lots, all that.
It's just. Sort of a person you want, man. Thanks.
So again, this is going to result in an expected budget slash estimate by 678,000. We're confident in the expectation that we can hit that.
What is subjective in this? I think subjective in these numbers
Revenue projections potentially?
or expense.
Uh. Yeah, it's not material below our budget, but we did budget $20,000 in our budget revenue. Cautiously optimistic that we can hit that, but that's entirely contingent upon us finding an operator or retail partners to operate us.
Does the PSC litigation have any impact on the projected budget? How did you do that?
We did create projections based on that. I don't know. It's in the breakout as far as where it was.
Did you have-
So the very
Sources of
last,
use.
very last page.
Sources of use.
My question would be, based on, so we have status of that is we have a whatever, a decision by a judge, we're appealing that decision. There's a delta of significant amount between what the judge decided and what we proposed. And this budget basically assumes that
That was what
the
our original law.
it does it contemplate the court action, is there any more activity? So we would have to, based on what the court said, right, we would have to come up with over $1 million in new money to buy the properties.
At the absolute upper bound.
I understand, so we have the balance of $1 million and change, but we need to or something like that. So is that an income expense thing, or is that just a balance sheet event, or how does that work?
Well, we did do 3 scenarios, and then the net cash position that we required for now, not just funding the cash,
I
but
understand that, but the question is any of those outcomes reflected in our budget for next year?
I
And
don't.
should have been. When would that transaction occur?
We think, yeah, we think it would be probably. December, yeah, I mean, we're looking at quarter 3 or 4 of next year,
Yeah.
right?
That's what.
So for instance, we know that we filed an appeal, we pursued an appeal, right?
We're pursuing, right?
And we think that is gonna have some expense tied to it.
Yep.
Is that reflected here?
The legal costs, yes, the additional settlement expense from the value of the site.
How about the interest there?
The simple interest, yes.
For the 9%? 9% on what?
4%.
4% is the base?
Yeah, I think it was 4%.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, not to put you on the spot, I've never thought about it. What if we couldn't make the payment?
Couldn't make payment,
Pay the money, or $1 million. Just short,
we execute on our property.
that's what would happen. I haven't thought
That
about
would
it.
be an option they would have.
Yes.
It's a judgment, it's a judgment, but we're not, even worst case, we're
We're not there, right?
no, we're far.
I want to be careful too, we're in a public,
Right.
and we're talking about litigation issues, and so there's confidentiality. I don't think anyone said anything wrong or this or that, but just be aware. This is litigation matters and has confidentiality. And real property transfer.
This is a public meeting right now, if we want to go confidential.
Yeah, we could go into executive.
Executive session.
You could, I think we'll go into executive session later unless you think we should do it now.
But I think this topic that we're talking about
It's-
will
it's-
be. an
yeah,
executive
what's
session.
exactly-
The
What do you
question
wanna
is,
wrap
does
up the
it, does
budget?
whatever we determine have any budgeting impact, and should it? Or how do we budget for this? So our known universes, we've lost, we have a ruling by a judge that was adverse to our position. And that determination, and we appeal that outcome. All we know is we have a judge ruling, right? I guess we can just keep it open, because we don't know.
The surplus would cover all the action stuff, like particulars, against that,
I'd say we go in an executive session if we wanna talk about this.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we have a motion to go into executive session to talk about the budget implications of the litigation, for the BSC. They get a motion there?
Second.
Right, so the motion is to discuss ongoing litigation.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So are we, For taking into executive session, we have to report on current status of litigation. Other matters related to real estate procurement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. All right, what other matters do we have, for normal business before we go back into executive session to discuss litigation matters?
I think we just wanted to wrap up the budget conversation, and note, for Liberty Park that the committee felt like it represented activity at Liberty Park.
Inaccurate.
Right, so we have a repeal that we're pursuing. The budget reflects anticipated, although uncertain legal fees. And then anticipated but uncertain interest carry difference in that. And we thought that was conservative and reflected like best practice and past practice. The other good thing is, I think, is although Liberty Park is still really hard to project, there's so many, there's complexity and there's so many moving parts now that we're putting Mark Collective into service. That will vary, this will be a funky year, but we're not having a huge number for budgeting. You say $10,000. So it's probably not even materiality for that. And so that's becoming a non-university for the most part. And that's good. Any other matters on the budget? Any other questions for the budget? So this will come back one more time to the finance committee. And then ultimately we recommend it in some format to the board for consideration. All right. Other business is Liberty Park update. Is there anything that's a non-executive session update that you want to provide the finance committee?
We have, Fire State Development Board meeting coming up on September 19th. And then. I think what else? I think updates. I don't know. I think they're all executive session items.
Okay, all right. Any other matters before executive session? If not, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session, go to, litigation, discussion of litigation on this.
Motion second.
Ready?
The adjourned meeting, wait,
Right.
don't leave until we adjourn.
John.
Motion
John,
adjourned.
We came out of executive session and no action was taken. You know what, I wonder, who's that short thing?
We adjourn?
Not yet.
We're out of executive session,
Okay.
but we're not on live stream.
Okay.
We did have
Well, I guess
a motion.
we have that.
Sure.